Once upon a time, there was a town full of music, colors, and laughter. People shared food, danced in the streets, and helped each other like one big family. But something had changed. The people had built invisible walls, not of stone, but of anger and hate. They began to fight over the language they spoke. Then they shouted about whose God was true. Soon, they even looked down upon each other's caste. And lastly, they started hating those who came from other countries. The town square, once filled with joy, now echoed with arguments. In the middle of all this noise, a little girl stood quietly. Her name was Memoon. She wore her favorite jeans and round-neck t-shirt, and behind her stood her best friends. Noodles the cat, Beteen the squirrel, Katchery the wise turtle, Nemo the goldfish, and Simba the lion. Memoon watched the sadness in the people's hearts and whispered, "Goddess Durga, please guide me." She took out her magical coin. With one rub, a golden light burst out, and Memoon transformed into Memunic SuperHero, brave, strong, and full of love. The first wall, language. The first fight was about language. One group shouted in their mother tongue. Another shouted back in theirs. They tore each other's signboards. One little girl cried as her storybook was snatched and burned. Just then, Memunic SuperHero flew down from the sky. She caught a burning plank midair, spun through the smoke, and sent a wind that calmed the fire. She handed the child a magical book. Inside were stories in every language. She said, "Every language is a song. Different words, same heart." The people looked at each other. They had never heard their neighbor's language spoken so kindly. One man said, "Her voice, it sounds like home." Tears fell. They hugged. The wall of language melted away. The second wall, religion. The next fight was about religion. People shouted about whose God was greater. Statues, crosses, flags, they all clashed. Someone threw a stone. A small temple caught fire. Memunic SuperHero dived straight into the flames. She carried out a priest and an imam. Then, she lifted an entire water tank and poured it over the fire. On the rooftop, she stood tall and said, "Every God teaches us to love. Not one teaches us to hate." Ashamed, the people sat together. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Buddhists, all side by side. They lit candles. Memoon lit the last one, shaped like a glowing heart. The light filled the town. They prayed not to be the same, but to stand together. The third wall, caste. In a quiet lane, a boy tried to join the other children on the swing. "Go away," someone yelled. "You're not one of us." He sat alone and cried. Memoon walked up to him and held his hand. Then came Simba, the lion. Instead of roaring in anger, Simba knelt and let the boy climb on his back. "A lion sees no caste," said Memoon. "Why should we?" Memoon tossed her magical coin in the air. It shone and drew a circle around the children. Now every child, no matter where they were from, held hands and laughed. The boy on the swing smiled. He wasn't alone anymore. The caste wall crumbled. The fourth wall, country. At the town's edge, people from two countries stood face to face. Flags flew angrily. Words turned into rocks. Across the barbed wire, two children looked at each other with sad eyes. Memunic SuperHero flew down like lightning. She lifted the entire fence and turned it into a bridge. From the skies, white swans flew in with olive leaves in their beaks. "A border cannot block a hug," Memoon whispered. The children ran and embraced each other. The crowd clapped and cried. Where the fence had stood, now bloomed a garden. People from every country planted trees, cooked meals, and sang together. Flags of every nation flew, not in war, but in celebration. They didn't lose their roots. They found new ones together again. The four broken parts of the town slowly joined back into one. It looked like a giant, beautiful quilt, stitched with stories of unity, stitched with love. On the town hall wall, an artist painted Memoon and her friends. Below it, a plaque read, "The girl who reminded us we are one. One world, one family." As the sun set, Memoon sat under a tree, specs on, ponytail swaying. Children from all walks of life surrounded her, listening to her read a story, not about fighting, but about forgiving. She looked up and smiled. All humans are equal. Every God smiles when we love. The world is one big family. Let's live like it. And they did. From that day on, the walls never returned. Only bridges did.